One of my favorite ways of training, understanding push hands and the concept of staying sticky is to work with an exercise ball. Now, if you have one, great. If you don't, I highly recommend that you get one because this training is invaluable, especially if you're doing a lot of solo training. This is a great way to understand a lot of different facets of our Tai Chi, whether it be just standing and pushing against this and feeling connection from your push all the way down into your heel, as well as the moving techniques that we're going to do. Now, when I mentioned staying sticky, this is a concept that you hear in a lot of different martial arts, and a lot of people think that all it is just staying attached to your target. And you see this a lot in Wing Chun explanations of Chi Sao, where they have sticky hands and they try to just stay connected to that person. And I think there's a little bit more that we need to pay attention to rather than just having our arms stuck to the other person's arms, rather than just applying glue. The idea should be more of having constant intention with the body. So no matter where the opponent moves, the body has the correct posture and your arms are out and connecting to your opponent so that when the moment is right, when the angle is right, you can attack, or when they're moving in, you can defend. But you never let the pressure off of them. So this is a great way to understand that in more of a tangible form. So once you have an exercise ball, the other thing you need is a wall. And all we're gonna do is focus on keeping the ball against the wall, and we're gonna isolate different parts of the arms so we can really feel this all the way until we get to the stance itself. Now, I'm gonna be using a bow stance and I'm gonna stay static on one side, but you can switch feet as necessary. Sometimes it's nice to switch feet as you switch sides with the hands in the technique, but I want you to have a good sense of rooting and grounding while you do this. So I prefer that you stay in one static bow stance position and then switch sides after some repetitions. All right, let's go get to it. To begin with, we're going to start with just the wrist connecting. So we don't want connection with any other part of the arm. It's really just going to be our palms and our wrists. So the goal here is to take the ball, place it up against the wall at about the same height as your shoulders. So where this curvature here is the same height with your shoulders. Your opponent's head would be here, and this is their belly. Okay? Now, I have light pressure. I'm gonna get into a bow stance and get fairly close. Notice my elbows have a lot of bend here. I'm not gonna get to full extension. If you're at full extension or you have to lean in, that's incorrect. So make sure you get a good range here. And you'll feel where it's most natural as you do this more. So I'm gonna sink into my stance, and then I'm gonna focus on keeping both hands here and then using the base of my palm to press forward. And we're just gonna keep it center. Now, when I press, I don't wanna just bounce my hands off. I want to press inward using my whole stance. So not just the arms either. My whole stance comes forward, and I'm going to use that in conjunction with my arms. The connection is there. Now, when you first do this, take a couple of times and feel how this goes through your arm, to your shoulder, down to your hip, down the leg, and into the back heel. Okay, so hold that position. And then ease off, shift back, and then do it again. Now notice, when I shift back, I don't let it bounce me back. I don't lose my posture. I let my legs move back, but I'm still keeping intention against this, okay? And my arm doesn't go back. So from this position, if my arm is from a push, when I shift back, I just lengthen the arm, but my hand still stays connected to the ball. Okay, so we're going to start with just a couple of pushes here in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we're going to change the angle and we're going to think of going downward. So roll the ball up. Notice my hands are up here, and then I want to sink into my stance. 1, 2, 3. Notice my elbows stay down. 4. It's my body sinking down that does this. And I'm not trying to sink to where it's center and press. I want to think of pressing downward. That's not an easy angle. Next, we're going to start from center, roll down, and then we're going to come upward. This is the most common and effective way of pushing somebody off of their feet, and we call this uprooting. Okay, so we start from low, then I'm going to shift and press upward. If my hands roll, it means I don't have the proper connection from my wrist to my shoulder. My elbows need to be down, low, and I need to angle my push to here, not upward to there. Okay, so we get low and then push up. Shift back, get underneath and push. Shift back, get underneath and push. 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to play with angles on the sides. So I'm going to take the ball, bring it over to the side, and notice I move my hands. I'm not going to keep my hands stuck to it and try to push that way. I want to push from my center. So I roll the ball over to the side, and then now I'm going to push to that angle. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I roll to the other side, and again, pushing towards that angle, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now from here, we're going to add some dynamic motion, and we're going to use this a lot. So one of the things that I would suggest is use those first 4 just getting comfortable with this, and for the rest of the time, work on this dynamic motion. So what we're going to do is circle. We're going to bring our hands up all the way around. Clockwise, we can do it. We can go around clockwise and then center, push. Counterclockwise, center it up, push. Okay, so we're just going to use a center push for this one. Clockwise, push. Counterclockwise, push. If you have a hard time discerning which is which, just do a circle one way and then do a circle the other way. Don't worry about what you call it. 3, 3, and last one, 4, 4. And you can hear it, my hands, that connection there. I don't want to just kind of like walk it around as I'm doing this. I'm pushing the ball into the wall as I do this, okay? Now you can continue from here and work from every other angle that we've done. So we come up and then press down. Again, going up, pressing down, circle, start from the side here, adjust, go to the side, circle, press from the side, circle, come from underneath and push up. You have a lot of different variables just at this range. Okay, so take the time and focus on this using your stance. Our next range is going to be focusing from the wrists all the way down to the tip of the elbow. So we're going to have a lot of connection with our forearm rolling along the ball. And you're going to find that we have many surfaces that are going to touch that. So there's a lot of twisting that's going to be happening with your forearm. We could be touching the inside, we could be touching the top, the bottom, and the outside of the forearm throughout all of this. Now, each of these is going to end with a circle to center and then a press. And of course, we can focus on different techniques, but this is a baseline technique that we can always come back to because what we're focusing on is waist rotation while staying connected to the ball. Okay, so now as we do this, we're going to focus on different angles. So think of like you have a cross, and then we're going to do a second diagonal cross. So we're going to be focusing on diagonal ups and diagonal downs. Each time our arm will move along there, we'll center and press. Our other arm will take the lead, we'll center and press. Okay, now don't worry so much about doing clockwise, counterclockwise circles. It's do whatever's most comfortable for you because the main focus should be on keeping that contact while moving up, whether or not you go from inside or outside. Okay, so we're going to start again, ball being at about that shoulder level. Again, your opponent is going to be your size here. Good stance. Always start with a little bit of a push to get used to where you're at. And then from here, what I'm going to do is just take one hand and I'm going to bring it across. So it's going only as far as my elbow. Now I can disconnect with the other hand, but once I start coming back around, I reconnect, press. Okay. I can do it again, cross, come from underneath, press. And then I can use that same thing, the other hand now, comes across, up and over, press, cross, down below, press. And notice, even as I'm doing this, after my hands come back around, I may have to do a slight adjustment here. That's fine. This is a drill. Get it to where it's perfect for you, okay? You don't have to be like trying to push from here just because that's where your hands ended up. Okay, so again, moving sideways, press, moving sideways, press. Now we can bring our hand over, go to the other side and press. Bring the hand over to the other side and press. So now I've gone inside and I've gone outside. Let's go straight up, up, bring it back to center, press. Up, bring it back to center, press. Notice as I'm doing this, I'm pressing with my arm. I'm keeping pressure against it. If this ball were to move, I shouldn't fall forward, but I also shouldn't be moving away from it. I should have a little bit of pressure inward here. So again, up, circling from the outside, press, up, circling from the inside, press. Same thing, other arm, circling, press, up, circling, press. Then we have downward. As we go downward, we're going to use the top of the arm. So my thumb points towards the wall, circle, press, down, circle, press, down, other side, press, down, other side, press. Now we have our diagonals. So we can work downward diagonal, come over, downward diagonal, come over, upward diagonal, come over, upward diagonal, come over. This one starts to get a little more freedom in motion. So for your first time, think of moving in those diagonals. Try to do inside, outside for the circles. So make sure you go each direction for the circle as you finish. But then after your first time doing that, you can relax and just focus on the movement. So rather than just trying to be strict about it, try to keep movement going. So you go up, you go down, you start making circles with everything. There's no specific movement. Even if you repeat the same thing 3 or 4 times in a row, we're keeping pressure with the stance. You're keeping that constant energy forward. That's what you want to feel as you do this. So don't really worry about outside or inside. Then later on, you can focus to come back and make sure that if you feel like you're always doing the exact same way over and over, then you work the other way around. So you can start filling in those blanks. But this one, you want to have a little more freedom of movement and a little more flow. Now, up until this point, we've been working our way closer and closer to the body. So we've worked from just the wrists, which have been all on the attack itself. We've gone from the wrists to the elbows, which focuses on defense, redirecting, centering, and then attacking. And now we're going to focus mostly on defense, which is at the shoulder itself. So now we want to simulate a little more pressure against us on the onset. Now we are going to finish up with recentering and pressing with both hands. And again, you can do this with any technique you want as you start exploring with it. But to keep it simple in a good drill flow, we're always going to, no matter where the ball is at, we're going to end up centering and then pressing. Now the idea here is to use the entire arm to contact the ball all the way to the armpit and the shoulder. And then I'm going to finish by pinning the ball against the wall. Okay, so think of it as a big movement. We're going to circle. We could go around, pin the ball. Okay, circle around, pin the ball with the shoulder, and then we're going to get the arm on the inside, press. Okay, so have some freedom in this one. Get real close to the wall, roll around, keep that contact, and press. So again, right here, circle, pin, center, press. Circle, pin, center, press. The body pins the ball, we center our hands, and then we press. And really think of getting around, move around this at this point. We want to keep our stance solid, but we want to have our body have pressure against this. We have to kind of fight the ups and downs here until we get to the point where we can center and press with the ball. Again, focusing on defense, focusing on pressure against us, getting from this point to where our arms and hands are on the inside, and we can follow up. Now, as you can see, as we've moved from the wrists to the elbows to the shoulders, this becomes more loose and fluid and freestyle. And that's the goal of this. So really take the time to focus on these first. Isolate each distance, really understand that distance, and then work into being more flowing and more freestyle. So just put that ball up against the wall, focus on pushing, getting your body in and pushing, getting it back, moving here, different circles, up, down, and don't feel bad that it doesn't have a perfect circle. If you end up doing something like this, coming back and then pushing, that's totally fine. We just want a constant adaptability with our stance, our hip, our spine, that no matter where we go with this, whether it's defense after defense after defense after defense, that's fine. We want to just have constant pressure before we get into the push itself. One of the things that I like to do is start from the push and then think of getting redirected from there. So I don't push and return from here. My push leads into the next push, which leads into the next push. So no matter what, I'm trying to constantly adapt to somebody defending against a push that I may have. Now, take the time on this one. After you go through the structured drills, really spend a lot of time with this. It's easy for 30 seconds. But set a timer. When you go past that point, when you go to a minute, when you go to 2 minutes, when you go to 5 minutes, after a while you get into this phase where you feel like you're doing the exact same thing over and over, or you start to feel bored. That's really where the learning starts, because that's where your mind of thinking of what to do stops. So that's where you can start going more for feeling, focus on a rhythm, play some music, match that rhythm, or just simply relax and think about alternating technique to technique. So that's a good space to be in. And just think about an angle, up, down, left, right, diagonal down, diagonal up. You've got all of that to work with. And switch your stance, okay? But really go for a good amount of time for the freestyle. Let yourself get bored, let yourself fail, let yourself screw up, because those are when you learn the best lessons.